All right, look at that. We are live here. We are live on X. We're live on TikTok. We're live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. Welcome to week 123. Count it, week 123 of Shark Sports Radio. Alongside of me is Andrew George. He goes by Ticket. It's yours truly, Mark Loisel Jr., aka Shark, right here in the Ocean State. Thank you all for taking a dive in the tank with us tonight. As always, you can tune in using your Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, and or Spotify app. Check us out on YouTube at the Shark Sports Radio channel, Facebook at the Shark Sports Radio Facebook page, TikTok at Shark Sports Radio. We are everywhere. You can check us out. Tonight, unfortunately, we do not have Mike Sealski joining us. He did have prior engagements, but we are glad to discuss the MLB trade deadline, which just capped off, I would say, in the last, 2 hours. A lot of activity, a lot of non-activity, a lot of fake news out there to be thrown around lightly. And we want to get into, obviously, the bulk of the deadline, and we also want to get into the winners and losers. But I think what we have to discuss right off the top is really the incredible, I guess, lack of reporting by Fox Sports and Yahoo Sports, right? So I don't know if people saw this, but it was right at the deadline. I would say around 5:55, and there was a report that John Morosi said that the Red Sox are pushing hard to go for Joe Ryan in conversations with Minnesota Twins. Well, guess what? Let's say Yahoo Sports and let's say Fox Sports just took off with it, and their Twitter handles were all over the place. Breaking news. Joe Ryan has been traded to the Boston Red Sox left and right. People are hagging him. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing throwing that out? If you haven't had confirmation, yes, John Morosi is one of yours. I get it. So you thought you had some good reporting, right? Well, Fox Sports did. But you have to acknowledge that when you have a credible source like John Morosi, who legitimately threw it out there saying that the Red Sox are making a strong, hard push to try to get Joe Ryan, it's lost in translation. So, kind of bad for Fox Sports. And what's funny is, like, you do something stupid and then another thing happens, like a domino effect. That's exactly what Yahoo followed, is follow the leader. Oh, okay, so Fox Sports is going to announce this. So should I. And I did see Steve Peralt from Section 10 saying that it's a fireable offense, and I totally agree with him. When you have, credible reporting versus false reporting, it's a wear and tear on the network, and unfortunately it comes back on the people running the social network. So that was something I think that came across that a lot of people probably missed it. But what was your feedback on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you summarized it pretty well. Kind of crazy that you don't get like that final confirmation, and then like everyone wants to be the outlets to report it, and it's just like funny that like nobody went to verify it, and like you said, they're all just kind of like chasing the tail, and in this case, the tail wasn't real. So someone had hallucinogens, and they were imagining a tail that they were chasing. But really, Shark, I think you buried the lead. I mean, we had to talk about how the New York Yankees dominated the trade deadline. What will go down in history as the greatest rain delay in New York Yankee history, perhaps baseball history, because
Yep.
that rain delay, it was trade for former All Star closer David Bednar, and then they added Jake Bird. The Yankees, the Colorado Rockies are effectively the Yankees farm system.
Yes, they
Over
are.
the years,
Yep.
the moves that they've made to bring in guys over, obviously DJ LeMahieu sticks out. Recently, obviously Ryan McMahon, but
This trade
I want to
deadline.
go back to my childhood with Sean Chacon. That one year we picked him up at the deadline, and the guy was lights out. But
Yeah, you're reaching right now. That's a
yeah, well, I
reach,
am
but
reaching if I'm going to
yeah,
make it a
go
Sean
ahead.
Chacon reference. But anyways, the point is, Ryan McMahon, great pickup. They had Jake Bird, who, you know, is in a closer role, was kind of in a closer role for the Rockies. Obviously, the Colorado's are a dumpster fire, but they have guys that can play. Jake Bird career high in Ks per nine this year. He's at 10.5. The one thing, and then they add Camilo Duvall, and Duvall is one of the best closers in baseball. Unbelievable cutter. The Yankees lacked guys in their bullpen that could throw hard, and they added three guys that throw hard. They added two guys that are when at their best are unhittable, literally unhittable. Bednar for a stretch, nobody could touch him. He had a down year last year. He's come on late these last 2 months or so. His last 30 innings pitched, he's been at .3 ERA, and his Ks per nine is around like 12, 13. Incredible. And then we know how good Duvall is. So Brian Cashman, I give him a lot of grief. Yankee fans, it's a love-hate relationship, but hard not to love him of what he did in those few hours during the rain delay against Tampa. Oh, by the way, we got Jose Calabaro from the Rays during that delay, which is kind of funny that like literally the guy packed his bags, walked across to the other dugout.
Walked across.
And Calabaro kills us, so I'm just glad to not have to face him anymore. For whatever, the guy's like a 220 hitter, but he I would be curious to see what his stats are against the Yankees because it seems like he always comes up with big hits. He had 2 triples this series already against us, just absolutely kills us. But anyways, I thought it was a great deadline for the Yankees. But there were a lot of huge moves, a lot of guys that are former All-Stars, high-level players, high-leverage players, impact players got moved at this deadline.
Yeah, so before we get into the high leverage players and the popular, topics, I do want to talk about the flip side with the Red Sox here. What ownership did was they told the fans and the Red Sox supporters that we're not going all in this year. We care less, if we win the world, if we try to get to the World Series, it's more just make the playoffs if you can. They are in the wild card hunt, right? But when it's all said and done, actions speak louder than words, and money seems to be more important than roster construction and management. So when I ask you, when the Red Sox were coming to the deadline and they came away with Steve Matz and Dustin May, for me, that's like throwing up in my mouth. Like, you did not do enough. And yes, kudos to Brian Bayo having a great, 3-game stretch here. After the All-Star break, he's had an incredible ERA. Garrett Crochet, we know what he's capable of doing. Walker Buehler, Giolito, pretty good. After the deadline, he's like a sub-3 ERA. But when you look at the overall concept in buying at the deadline, is because guess what? You're gonna have to pay these guys regardless. So if you're not gonna especially guys in control, like guys that have 2 or 3 years left on that contract, if you don't feel comfortable going to get those guys, guess what? You're not gonna feel comfortable in the offseason because that's when dollars pick up. That's when you're gonna have to overpay for guys like Dylan Cease. That's when you're gonna have to overpay for guys like Zach Gallen, right? So Merrill Kelly, the Rangers got 3 top pitching prospects and you couldn't find a way to utilize your top prospects in general and maybe throw in Connor Early or throw in Peyton Tooley. Like, I get it. People are like, I'm not trading Peyton Tooley because he's the next, Henry Owens? Like, we've seen this. We've seen this multiple times.
Jason Groom.
Jason Groom, perfect example. Yeah, John Lester's of the world, and we get it. We get it. But when you look at what they've done, it proves to me that they just want to make it to the playoffs. And if that's the case, and they feel like their team's so young, and then why the hell would Alex Bregman re-sign with the Red Sox? Why would he? Why? So he can be the mentor for Roman Anthony and Marcel Mayer? Like, that only lasts so long. So I think that's a stupid direction for Craig Breslow. And I must say, there is a hat in the ring here with John Henry because it's all about Liverpool. It's all about focusing on the Liverpool club and their big buyers. That's what they care about. They don't care about baseball anymore, people. If there's anything that proves to you this day, they rather shed out $100 million to a guy that plays football than a guy that plays baseball. So if there's any awakening here, I even tweeted this out. Chris Cotillo had the article, and Tyler Milliken subtweeted it, and I agree with it. I said I'm not surprised that they didn't make any moves at the deadline that were worth it. Dustin May, that guy got crapped all over you in Fenway Park recently. You like destroyed him in Fenway. And like there's like a meme of him like going backwards, like, it's like that's what you get in return. If you're gonna be that average at the deadline, that's what you're getting in return. And my whole concept in this deadline is you had money freed up from the Devers trade. You didn't use that money. You had close to $38 million. The reason why you didn't want Devers in your locker room is, one, because you didn't feel like he was living up to the end of the bargain, right? So if there's any caveat to this, it's, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to, go and sign Roman Anthony to a long-term extension? Are they going to sign Alex Bregman to an extension because he has a player option at the end of the year? They have to think in-house now because they put their pieces and put all their chips to the table when it comes to internally. They don't care about externally, as you can see. Teams like the Rangers, teams like the Mariners. You're telling me the Mariners have a better farm system than the Red Sox? No.
I think
they just don't want to cough up the extra prospect.
Huh? I was gonna say, I think they're ranked fairly close. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. The Red Sox are they have one of the better farm systems.
They're far and beyond, better like overall baseball team because they have like offense. And Cal Raleigh has been lights out for Seattle. But really, Julio Rodriguez has not been hot, right? They went out and got a guy like Eugenio Suarez, right?
Eugenio Suarez, they reunited him, and they we all know. It's funny because before the season, I mean, there was the conversations of like the Red Sox and Mariners hooking up. One team's got a bunch of pitching prospects, and the other's got hitters, and you swap them. And clearly, the Mariners were not impressed with what the Red Sox had to offer. They didn't want Tristan Casas. They said, "We'll hold on to our pitchers, and maybe we'll wait for the deadline and make a move and sell off a prospect. Why would we give up one of our starting pitchers?" And by the way, the Mariners, who I think had a really good deadline, but you talk about the Red Sox and their process, and the unwillingness, like they didn't even give up one of their guys. Like the Dodgers said, we don't even want. We'll take Tibbs. We'll take the guy that you got from the Giants deal because they probably have some familiarity with their system and their guys. But they didn't want anyone from Boston. They said the hell with that. And then
and you know what's crazy, Tiki? You know what's crazy about that is people are begging for a first baseman. And they have a first baseman in Tibbs, and instead they're going to try to develop a young guy in Christian Campbell to play first base when he should be in the outfield or he should be somewhere in the midfield, but infield besides first base. You're having like a product become a project. You have a guy that you can absolutely rely on and be like the next, like he can really take off. He showed in the minor leagues recently that he can, right? Yeah. But I think what they have to acknowledge is the offseason is not going to get any easier. You need a number 2 starter? You go and trade for a number 2 starter. You don't rely on rentals, right? That's one thing. You don't rely on rentals. So maybe Merrill Kelly was a bad option. But if Joe Ryan's out there and he's in control till 2027, how do you not bite the bullet and give up prospects like the password, give up prospects like Connor Early or Peyton Tooley? Those guys are there. Just make it happen. Why do you got to keep prospects? It's beyond like preposterous to me. But we all know why they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, even Tibbs was like, you talk about like they need a first baseman. He was a first-round pick a year ago out of like a very good baseball program at the Florida State. Like, listen, I know he wasn't the most
number 20 prospect in the Red Sox system.
Right. I know he wasn't the most sought-after guy, and like he hasn't really lived up to the first-round pick. But like the talent's there. The talent's probably there. So, regardless, if I were a Red Sox fan, I'd be pretty pissed. Even May, like you said, he got lit up at Fenway. He at one point in his career, he looked very promising. He helped the Dodgers get to the World Series during the COVID year in 2020. Since then, He's barely thrown 100 innings in the last 4 seasons. His he's probably not going to, that him and Fenway is probably not adding up very well. Maybe he replaces Richard Fitz, Dick Fitz in the rotation or something. Maybe he goes into the bullpen and gives you some more velocity on his fastball, moving him to the pen. I don't know what they do with May, but yeah, May and Matz wouldn't exactly exude confidence if I were a Red Sox fan, especially when, I mean, this is me as a Yankee fan saying this. I think they could be very competitive. And honestly, if you went out and got a Joe Ryan, um, even Merrill Kelly,
Maybe
at
a
least
Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly. Yeah.
Evaldi. I mean, maybe the Rangers are like, because the Rangers obviously were aggressive and they got Kelly, so clearly they're trying to make their move. But yeah, you could have
Logan
added somebody
Webb
with
in
Crochet.
San Fran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you added one of those guys with Crochet, I would take that over pretty much. There's in the American League where it's wide open. Like I would have taken Crochet, Ryan versus pretty much anyone else's 1-2 in the American League.
I'll just say this, Ticket. When Dave Dombrowski left for the Phillies, it should have been an eye-opener for a lot of Red Sox fans. When you look at what Dave Dombrowski is doing, he's spending all their money. He doesn't care. He's saying, you know what? I'm going to put the best lineup, the best pitching staff, the best bullpen together. And in regards to him leaving the Red Sox, is because the Red Sox are cheap. That's just the way they've always been built. And a shocker to me this past offseason was extending Garrett Crochet when you got him. But guess what? He's in control. He's 25 years old. So they're going to give him that extension. So just be open-minded when you see a top prospect. Because if I was the Red Sox, I'd be wheeling and dealing, for guys that are in control and utilize as many prospects as you can. Regardless if it's Christian Campbell too. Like, I'm sorry, if Christian Campbell's not living up to the bargain, he's $8 million, over a course of 8 years. So you look at it, what, $64 million? Like the Red Sox are like, that's pennies. That's pennies. Like we can cake off of that, no problem. So we're gonna keep him around. That's what we're gonna do because he's cheap. So, and the other thing too, Ticket, is Jarren Duran is also probably a free. I think he's a free agent after this season. So you're not going to re-sign Jarren Duran. So if you're not going to sign your guy, then why are you keeping him around? Because you're not going to re-sign him. He's going to cost you $25-30 million a year.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and there's a one area where there was a surplus. It's outfield for you guys. So, you got Abreu. Obviously, you have Anthony. There's a number of Rafaela, which I know he's playing second right now, but still, I mean, that's a guy who's capable of playing the outfield. Obviously, you have Duran. So there's got to be an odd man out. I mean, Anthony's obviously there for the future. I think Abreu's shown that he's probably the guy that you want to keep around between him and Duran, in terms of the bat that he provides and his explosiveness. So, yeah, I don't know if I were like I said, if I were a Sox fan, which I'm glad I'm not for many reasons, I'd be pretty pissed off. But here we are, Shark.
At least at least you kind of feel my sentiment. But we're not a Red Sox podcast, so we'll let it settle. But I already know the answer. I already knew it when Chris Cotillo from Mass Live revealed the money talks with was it $9 to $10 million, under the CBT tax or whatever. Like, come on, give me a break. When you're talking pennies on the dollar. You have millions and millions and trillions of dollars, and you can't hash it out to find controllable starters. I just think it's pretty blasphemous to me. And like Seattle's waiting there. They have a surplus of pitchers. Like teams and the Cubs, if I'm a Cubs fan too, like I'm pretty pissed off too because they didn't go get their second starter either. So, Jed Hoyer, former Red Sox, just sitting back and just trying to play the waiting game. But a lot of teams, coughed it up when they play the waiting game. The Rangers were aggressive, getting Merrill Kelly before that deadline ended. The Astros acquiring Carlos Correa, and the fact that Carlos Correa was due 6 years, $200 million through 2028, and includes 3 club options. Like that's wild to me that the Houston Astros are willing to take that on, but they want him back. They want him back. Was it Paredes is injured, right? So they need a guy
Yeah,
that can step in. Um, and
and obviously,
they got a nice
when
piece in Jeremy Pena too.
yeah, and we obviously know the success that Correa had earlier in his career with Houston. Correa had a pretty good year last year, obviously helping the Twins, make the postseason, be a 90-win team. It's also on the flip side of it, it's crazy to see what the Twins are now. They only have 2 guys
Yep.
under contract for next year on their entire roster.
Yeah. Joe Ryan and Byron Buxton.
Yep, crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Crazy.
but yeah, I mean, Correa. I mean, the Astros. It just seems like whatever they do, it ends up being the right move. So, there's just something about that organization these last several years. Things just kind of break their way. They let Correa go in favor of Pena. They trust the kid, and he ends up being the World Series MVP and helping them win a championship. And now they bring obviously
Yeah.
Correa back. Um, and who knows? Maybe he'll
I mean,
find lightning in a bottle.
They got Valdez, they got Hunter Brown. I mean, they develop players, they pay players. They're a good organization. They win. They they win. That's all they do in every single category. So, um, but I guess like looking at the NL side, because we talk a lot about the AL there, so we can kind of predict the winners is probably Seattle and Houston and the Yankees for sure. So we'll say Seattle for me, Yankees for you, and then we could probably agree to Houston.
Yeah,
Um,
I also would say the Padres. I mean, I think the Mason Miller trade
well,
is
the
absolutely
AL. I'm saying
the
AL.
area.
We're
Oh, I'm
talking
sorry.
NL
Yeah,
now, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying for
Yankees.
AL, I think that's it for AL. I think the NL, you hit the nail on the head with the Padres. I mean, you could
Yeah,
talk about them. What do they do?
yeah. So I mean, with the Padres, they started the morning off. I mean, really, the Mason Miller deal was like the thing that a lot of people woke up to. Now, I will say, Mason Miller is a great closer. The fact that you trade, it's kind of crazy to trade like a top 100 prospect in baseball for a relief arm. The fact that the kid they gave up, um, Leo DeVries, he's the number 5 prospect in baseball. He's a top 10 guy.
Number
Some
three.
people have him as high as 5'3". Yeah, I mean, he's he's a premier blue chip prospect, and you give him up for a bullpen arm, which is wild to me. But at the end of the
And that
day,
ownership doesn't want to take on more money either. They don't care for it.
yeah,
That's
I don't really
nuts.
understand that. But you know, the fact that they had Ryan O'Hare and Romain Laureano from the Orioles. Obviously, those are 2 guys, and Ryan O'Hare's having a great year. Laureano too. So you had depth in your outfield and guys that can hit the ball. I mean, I don't know. I think the Padres. I mean, they definitely won. They added assets. I don't want to overlook the Royals catcher Furman that they also got. But yeah, I mean, they've certainly got a lot better. I would say the Phillies are another one that you'd look at. They didn't
Yeah,
make
I was
as
gonna
many
say
moves,
Phillies.
but
Yeah.
Adding
My
Johan
my whole
Duran,
my whole thing with the Padres is okay. So you don't have the best starting pitching, right? But you have a monstrous bullpen now. You have Suarez. You have Mason Miller. You got a reliever slash starter in J.P. Sears, right? I think what they did with their prospects is we don't need these guys in order to figure out how to win this year. And that's something that big market winnable franchises acknowledge. You're telling me that before the deadline that the Padres will require Mason Miller, JP Spears, and Ryan O'Hearn? I think you're on crack. There is no way that I would have thought that the Padres would do this. One, because like I said, their management and their front office don't care. They want to save money. They're thinking about selling the team. And two, it's all about right now. The NL West is wide open, right? So they're like, hey, why not us? Why not have the ability to go out and get some relievers that can fully be there for protection for our starters. Because I hate to say it, but Dylan Cease is what, a 4.5 ERA right now. Michael King is probably their best pitcher. Like Yu Darvish, where's he? Right? They really don't have like formidable starting pitching. But flipping it to the Phillies, like you mentioned, Ticket. Yeah, Dave Dombrowski gets an A fucking plus because he did what he was supposed to do. He went out and he got a vulnerable organization like the Minnesota Twins to say, hey, we want Harrison Bader. Can we have him? Yeah, go right ahead. What are you going to give me? A couple of prospects? Yeah, go ahead. Below 20 prospects? Yep, you can have them. Oh, Minnesota, we're going to call you back. Can we have Duran? Johan Duran? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Have him. Okay, no problem. He went to the weakest franchises and dealt with that because he knows that it was a fire sale. And guess what GMs do? They talk during, the offseason. They talk during the winter meetings. Hey, what are you thinking? How's the club looking? What you guys think you're going to sell at the deadline? Just kind of test the waters, test out the temperature. Well, guess what? He tested out the temperature and spoke to the Minnesota Twins probably during the offseason at the winter meetings and acknowledged how soft this team was going to be coming in this year. Because Rocco Baldelli, yes, he has Joe Ryan, and yes, they have Carlos Correa, and they have a couple of younger pieces in the mix, but that team blows. And so he knew what he was doing when he went to the Minnesota Twins to say, let me take a couple of your top guys. Duran. Yeah, we'll add him to the bullpen. Oh, you don't want Andrew Painter in return? Oh, that's fine. We'll just give you a couple of our prospects. Like, come on. Like, that's highway robbery. So Dave Dombrowski gets an A+. It's not the Phillies. Don't get it twisted. It's not the Phillies. Dave Dombrowski gets an A+ because he's a great negotiator, and he knows that these teams need to sell pieces in order to stay afloat. So he went after the vulnerable guys. Minnesota's a piece of styrofoam. With the Red Sox demolishing them. Yes, they got 2 out of 3, but it was because of freaking rain delay. They only got the first one. So, yeah, Dave Dombrowski probably gets GM of the year already, and it's not even October. So, what other teams can you think of?
Yeah, I mean, I was also just going to piggyback off that. You talk about the circle back to the Twins and all their fire sale, but like they also added Bader. And to me, I know Hunter Pence was a better player, but can't you just see Bader in that Phillies uniform, like in this postseason, just coming up with like a big stolen base or a big hit? Like he just kind of looks the part of the Philadelphia, like kind of like gritty. I don't know. There's just something about him. Maybe the flow with the hair. There's just something about that. And listen, the Phillies were my pick to get to the World Series when we did our preview show. I feel even better about them. The one weakness that they had was the back end of the bullpen, and then you add Duran and Bader, so that was huge for them.
Who throws over 100 miles an hour?
Yeah. The Mets, I thought, had an interesting deadline. Like they added Helsley, they added Soto in the bullpen to give Edwin Diaz some help. And then today they add Cedric Mullins, who obviously gives them a lot more offense than what they had in the outfield. Certainly an upgrade over Tyrone Taylor. But that's sacrificing.
I think the Ryan Helsley pickup might have won the trade deadline.
Yeah, it was a great move for them. Even Soto, don't sleep on him. Like I know he had he's had some strong seasons in the past with the Phillies as like their setup guy and a little bit in the closing role, and he was really good for the Orioles last year with an Orioles team that obviously had quite a bit of success. But I think the Mets kind of under the radar, like you said. The Helsley deal was huge.
Yeah. And I'm laughing because I'm looking at some of the trades today, and we forgot one. The Rays got Griffin Jacks at the buzzer. What, for Taj Bradley?
Which I don't really understand for them. Like
For who?
I guess it helps them now, but like Bradley, I wouldn't. Still could end up being a pretty good pitcher. Like I know he's been up and down this year, but he's still young. Not that Jax is old, but like Bradley at one point was one of the top pitching prospects in baseball like 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
you know, I could see Bradley somehow working out. And if he does work out, he's a top. He's like he's not an ace, but he's like a good number three,
Dude,
maybe
he's gonna
two
be
to
number
Joe
two.
Ryan
He's
there.
probably gonna be the number. Yeah, he's probably gonna be number two in Minnesota because right now, I don't know if you know this, but this is from MLB.com. Recently, he was demoted to AAA with a what? A 4.61 ERA. This guy
Yeah.
blows. What are you talking about?
Well, his
He's
first
not gonna
start,
be.
Stark, I'm going to one up you here. I knew about his
Go ahead.
demotion, and he threw seven shutout innings in his first AAA game back with Durham.
Yeah.
So I was aware of that.
Congrats.
I'm just
Yeah. Congrats. You're going to a Minnesota Twins team who has
the Twins might as
nobody.
well be a AAA team, Shark.
Dude, I was gonna say his ERA is gonna be like 20. Like, it's they're not gonna have any run protection. They're probably gonna have like an average of 1.2 run protection moving forward, left in the season. He's probably gonna have like close to a 20 ERA. I'm not joking. I think this guy's in for a rude awakening. Joe Ryan too. I feel so bad. Like, luckily he's under contract and he has arbitration in 2026 and 2027. But if it wasn't for arbitration, this guy would be like wanting an extension. And what? He has this to play for? No playoff seed. That team's not making the freaking playoffs. Byron Buxton's hurt now.
Yeah.
But not to say Byron Buxton was the hero, but they got rid of all these other guys
Buxton's
at the
a good-
trade deadline.
And Buxton's a good player. What you just said about like feeling bad for Joe Ryan. How about Mason Miller? Like going from pitching in like a AAA ballpark in Sacramento in front of nobody to now getting a chance to play for a legitimate World Series contender in the National League.
Yeah.
And former Yankee Jobber Chamberlain. So I saw one of the writers. What a life change for Mason Miller. Goes from pitching for zero stakes in a minor league ballpark to the middle of a postseason and pennant chase at gorgeous Petco Park. Jobber Chamberlain, former Yankee, responded, "If I was Mason Miller, I'd be harder than a diamond in an ice storm right now." What a line.
What a line. San Diego is incredible. Oh, I love that's a great line by Java. I also think this. Ticket, because with the A's, Luis Saravino's not available. Like, he's not available to be a starter. Like, that guy could be a great number 2 or number 3 guy. He hates it out there in Sacramento. I mean, who likes it?
Contract's
But
not that expensive.
I think,
either.
yeah, it's not. No, his contract's not. No. But yeah, I'm kind of overwhelmed with what the NL did. I'm kind of overwhelmed with what the big market teams did, and it's kind of crazy to me when you're sitting there, and you hear all this trade talk and conversation, and then all of a sudden, everything kind of fall in line with the Phillies, with the Rangers, with the Astros. I'm surprised the Cubs weren't in the mix. Like I said, the probably most surprising team for me going into the deadline was going to be the Mariners and what they could do, right? But I also had no idea that the Padres and AJ Pello were going to do that. That was something that like just came out of nowhere. Like you're telling me you could get all that bullpen help just on the dollar. Like, not to say on the dollar, like Leo is a real good player, right? But I just look at that as that's like a win now mode type of mentality when you go out there and you make those type of moves. Because a top 3, top 5 prospect, like you said in baseball, you're willing to do that. That in itself, you gotta grow some heavy balls in order to do that. And
By the way, they've been doing it. I mean, look at the Soto.
Yeah,
Now,
they
granted,
have.
they didn't win, but like, look at the
Yeah.
Soto deal and what the Nationals got: Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, James Wood for a rental of
Stars.
Soto.
Studs. Yeah, studs. And then you got Fernando Tatis, who also signed a contract, right? And he was like, "I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere."
Yeah,
Right? You go out and get you Darvish a couple of probably 3 or 4 off seasons ago, right? It's just it's teams sitting back saying, "Hey, we're gonna be average. We don't want to fight. We're gonna try to get a wild card spot, make it into the
desperate.
playoffs, hope for the
Teams that
best."
are desperate for a
That's what it
title,
is.
which the Red Sox aren't.
Yep. Yeah.
At least their ownership
Well, I
isn't.
wasn't just I wasn't just referring to the Red Sox. I mean,
No, but
I
I
was
mean
also
that's what I would point to. Do they do
yeah,
they
yeah,
do they want to win? And listen, they got fat and happy. They got 3 World Series titles after a drought. I get it.
yep,
They made their
yep.
money. They don't give a shit anymore. But look at the Mariners. Mariners have never won anything, and they were
Look at the Blue
aggressive. They
Jays.
sold out. Yeah,
Look at the Blue Jays. They went and got Shane Bieber. You tell me the Red Sox could have got Shane Bieber? It's just crazy to me. Just crazy. Um, Anything else you want to talk about the deadline, or what's to come to next? What's next? What's gonna happen?
yeah. I mean, I'm very curious. I mean, the Tigers didn't do a whole lot to address their issues. They added like Paddock and Morton, some older starting pitching. Uh,
Yeah,
I
they got
mean, I
some
don't.
rust on their arms.
And I know that they're probably feeling good about where they are. Listen, they got Tariq Skubal, and nobody else does, so that's gonna matter in the postseason, for sure. But yeah, I mean
But you
the
got to
Cubs
have
kind of stand.
support, right? Because Jackson Jobe is out for the year.
Yeah, and Mize has been injury prone in the past, and he's already missed a little bit of time. And I like Mize a lot, um, but Olson also went down, so now like I'm sure that's more of a depth move for them. At least you have some veterans. Like Morton's been there, done that, and he's had success in the postseason in the past. But
Yeah.
he's up there in age, and who knows like what he can really give you at this point. But yeah, I mean I don't know. The Tigers be very interesting. I think when people when they added this extra wild card team and people were like, oh, like is this really going to be good and the format, and it just makes more teams viable for the playoffs. And
Yeah.
I mean, the deadline today was crazy. I mean, you would have thought it was a video game with all these guys getting traded and former All Stars and impact players getting traded left and right. It was
Yeah.
cool to see. I mean, as a
My
sports
phone
fan,
was
I'm like,
lighting up with notifications. I was like,
yeah,
what's going on here? It's like, what the hell is going on? Um, and even like the Reds felt like the need to also be in the mix too. I mean, they got Zach Littell from the Rays in the 3-way trade, right?
Brian
They
Hayes.
gave up a couple of yeah, oh yeah, Karen Hayes, yeah, from the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah,
Just a real good job, and I think Tito knows how to preach culture, right? And I feel like they want to have like a winning culture there. So I think just having that winning mentality, with Tito in his days, he wants guys to have fun, but he also wants guys to win. And with Cleveland, that was kind of the spirit too. So he's in Cincinnati, and he's got a great young roster there. They absolutely need a couple more pieces, hopefully in the offseason, so that way they can have like a sure thing versus uncertainty going into the year. But um, so I think that wraps up our deadline talk. We kind of got into it pretty quickly, but I think that was kind of my feedback was, teams that made moves were acting desperate and win now mode. And I think that teams that didn't make moves lost out, and they could be losing out on a wild card bid. So I think there's more to that. I think a lot of teams think they're going to get lucky down the stretch. Hopefully, luck's on their side. But guess what? A lot of times there's good luck and there's bad luck. And so I think the bad luck is karma to the teams that were cheap at the deadline, which could become a major factor. All right, let's get into Hobby of the Week. HOW, we got to break down the Hobby of the Week ticket. I'll hand it off to you. What do you got today?
all right. So I got two, and one is kind of like it's you'll see. So Shark, as we're
Yeah.
recording this, maybe our listeners don't know. If they're watching live on X, they do know. But right now we got the Hall of Fame game. Football is back, baby. Football's back.
Yes, we do.
We got the Lions and the
Yup.
Chargers. I'm watching Jared Goff on the sideline. Didn't even dress. Justin Herbert, same thing. We got Dan Campbell and Harbaugh, two of the best personalities at head coach going at it right here. But recently, I know this show's been out for a little bit. Recently started watching quarterback, and one of the feature quarterbacks on
Yep.
the show, Joe Burrow.
Yep.
So I'm going to share with you Joe Burrow.
Okay.
This is a rookie card out of. It's not the greatest product. It's out of Phoenix, but it's red numbered out of 199, and I got a PSA
Nice.
9 sent it in. So
PSA
got the
9.
color match
All right.
kinda with the Phoenix and the red,
right.
the orange. I think it looks cool. And
That is
then the
cool.
other card I'm going to show off, not like the craziest card, but RIP, the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan. This is a select red, white, and blue. Red, white, and
wow.
blue
Nice.
for the Hulk, Americana. So, like I said, kind of just like a common insert, whatever. But I was going through stuff the other day and I came across it. So I wanted to shout out the Hulk. You know, obviously
we might have
growing
to
up,
save that. Hold on, we might have to save that card for next week ticket because we got say hello to the bad guys.
That's
Mark
true.
from ESPN
Hollywood Hulk
is joining
Hogan.
us.
NWO,
Yeah. So
baby.
we got a little, NWO. We're gonna be talking some NWO. So tune in next week for that. All right. So hobby of the week. We're showing it off our favorite cards of the week, and I feel like this is one that, I feel like it is a good keeper. I got Junior Caminero,
yeah.
signed out of 199.
A prism.
It's got a little bit of a prism to it. Yep. A little hollow action. Let me
that
take
kid's
it
a
back
stud.
a little bit.
I wish he was a Yankee.
Yeah, he's a star. He's a stud, and the Brewers would be nothing without him. And so I feel like the way he's built too is he's got a little, Ellie De La Cruz in him. He's got a little bit of swagger to him, which I love, and
He does.
a little bit of Vladdy power. You always gotta love the swag, right? So I think Junior Caminero is a guy that people should have eyes on moving forward, and I think that's the reason why I got that card, is just because
Yeah.
it was one of those
Listen.
things. It's his rookie card too.
If you weren't aware of him before the home run derby, as a casual fan, you watch the home run derby and it's like, holy shit, this kid. Yeah, it gave you like a little bit of like the Vladdy Jr. vibes. Obviously not as different because like Vlad Jr. His dad, but
Yeah.
Caminero almost stole the show in the home run derby, beating the big thumper, the big dumper. I really hate even saying it. Shark, it pisses me off. Cal Raleigh and all the talk. Aaron Judge is hitting like 80 points higher than his batting average, and I know he's down right now, and I might be my fault for jinxing it, saying that Judge should going to win his third MVP, and now he's down and with an injury. But anyways,
A tennis elbow,
Caminero,
right? Does he have the tennis elbow?
Yeah, I mean he'll probably end up DHing for the rest of the year, I would imagine. But anyways, we don't want to go down that road because I'm going to get upset. But yes, Caminero, really good young player. I want to share with you this joke that it made me think of that I read on Twitter during the home run derby. Someone mentioned, can you imagine the left side of the infield for the Rays for the next decade if Wander Franco didn't do what he did, and you have Wander Franco at short and Caminero at third? And someone said, well, we all know Wander didn't do good around juniors.
Oh man, coming in hot.
Great
Wow.
joke. Great joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. It's just not
It's clever.
safe for the podcast.
No, it's clever, though.
It is clever. It is clever. It's clever.
Well,
But they
Wander,
also had,
He should rot in jail.
they got rid of. Yeah, exactly. But they also have Randy Rosarino, right?
Yeah. Well, he's a
I know he's with Seattle now. Yeah, but I'm saying like if
Well, at
they
the
didn't
time,
trade
yeah.
him too, you
at
know,
the time.
they would have a stacked lineup. Now, so it's funny. Like back in the day, their pitching staff with James Shields and David Price and Matt Moore, like they had real good pitching
Matt
staff.
Moore was so good for a little bit. Yeah, Price.
He
Price
really
was.
was.
Unbelievable. Price was one of the
Yeah.
best pitchers in the American League consistently for a while.
Right. So it's just wild to me that it's now the other side of the spectrum where their offense is hitting. Well,
Everyone's
the
favorite
development
slugger,
side.
Jonathan Aranda.
Yeah,
Aaron Boone
Rhonda.
picked up to
Rhonda.
representing that home run swing off.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. Love it. But yeah, I think that caps off the hobby of the week. Um, we're really excited for next week. Again, we're gonna talk to the author. One of my close friends, Jose Youngs, hooked us up as we're gonna be talking about "Say Hello to the Bad Guys," with the NWO action, how impactful that was, to the wrestling world, and I think it's perfect timing too, because R.I.P. as we mentioned earlier to Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan.
Hollywood Hulk.
Unfortunately, that's the way it was, but he had a great career. So we'll get into that more next week. I'm really, really excited for this, and we're actually booked all the way through October. So we're gonna have stacked weeks coming up to talk more about, whether that's Pete Rose's story, right? Whether that's another Kobe Bryant story, whether that's the, say hello to the bad guys, NWO. We're going to give it to you all. We're going to talk about golf in a couple of weeks because we got the, Ryder Cup action coming up, and obviously the FedEx Cup. We're going to be talking about it all, people. So excited for you guys to join in every single week. Thank you for taking the time in the tank. Ticket. Thank you.
Take care, guys.